The most important thing is self-love. Do this with love. Do not beat yourself up for not measuring some crazy mark or measure that you created for yourself. Don't use that yardstick to beat yourself with. That doesn't help. It doesn't help. And instead, celebrate how much you have done, how much you have invested in yourself, how much you are believing in yourself. Get back to that point when you got this course to say, you know, where's that eagerness, that inspiration? What was the vision that you had? And it is common 100% of the time. Any of the things that I've had successful, well, if it's really fast, I don't do this, but it's very common to doubt yourself and to deviate and get distracted in this crazy world. And so to minimize distractions when you're working is really important. You need to turn off Facebook. You need to turn all that off because that can lead down a rabbit hole. You may need to either turn off TV, almost definitely turn off the news. I haven't watched the news in, I don't know, decade or so, and yet I still know a lot about what's going on because people talk about it everywhere, and particularly on Facebook. And I have discovered that if I really need to know something, if it really is impacting me and my life, I hear about it. And I do not need to hear about everybody in the world's horrible situation on a daily basis because that just makes my life more horrible. My take on that. When I can get in a tight bubble of positivity, and you have to really filter, have a big heavy filter of what are you allowing in, much like your food, what are you allowing in and absorbing so that you can digest? What are you choosing? What organic, beautiful, whole foods are you allowing into your body? And what organic, beautiful, lovely thoughts and news are you allowing in to become part of you? Be very aware and conscious of that. Because you get to choose. You get to choose what you eat. You get to choose what you drink. You get to choose what you think. Sort of. Thoughts are going to pop in, and you can choose. They seem to come from nowhere. You can choose to accept them or ignore them. But the thoughts you're thinking are very much going to be influenced. You're going to be under the influence of what you're observing, whether it is in your home or through TV or through movies or things that you're reading. How do you want to influence yourself? What kind of kids do you want to surround yourself with? Do you have kids? Do you care about who their friends are? Do you care about who they associate with? Do you care about what activities they're doing? Does it matter? How about for you? Does it matter whether you're watching CNN? Does it matter whether you're getting yourself all balled up in a knot that you can't help? Does it matter? It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And you can bet, and I'll attest to that, you can never watch TV for years. I've done that. And you'll still know what's going on. It will still, in this digital age, you're going to hear about it. And if it really matters, and you can decide how much you want to be aware of it, whether there's something that you can actually do about it, and how much you do not want to be aware of it. And you can choose better thoughts. And if you can really, I had 1 week, I remember back in 2013, and it was such a dramatic, I took this to the extreme. I got myself in a tight bubble of positivity, and I was committed for 7 days. No complaining. I didn't allow myself to complain. Watch yourself how often you complain. Even I feel like I'm a positive person, but watch how much thoughts that you complain about yourself, about your body, about your surroundings, about your spouse, watch how many times a day, a minute, that you tend to complain. So I was in this tight bubble of positivity. I could only really hold on to it without practice for 7 days at that level. And my income doubled in that week. Coincidence? I think not. I think not. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I wouldn't allow complaining in my household for those 7 days. That's why it was harder, because it wasn't just me. Now, I can't control other people. I'm sure they did complain, but I have doors on my office, so I did what I could do to filter that out. And when there's no complaining, when there's just happiness, when there's joy, when you purposefully get up, you meditate, you get yourself in a positive set point and a positive feeling, and you milk it for all it's worth a lot. And this exercise of creating a course could be an exercise in really like milking that self-love, like really put it to the test, see for yourself, prove it to yourself. I was proving it to myself there, that when you do that, it's all about attitude, mindset, energy, vibration. It's all about that. It's all about that. And the wonderful thing is you're 100% control of that. You cannot control other people. You cannot control events or situations, but you can control what you allow in. You can control what you digest, and you can control where you choose to focus and look at, and where you choose to focus your energies. And you can choose how you feel. You really can. It's not the knee jerk, and I'm not saying that you wouldn't be justified. When my dad had his stroke, that they said he absolutely could not survive. There was no way he could survive. There is a knee-jerk response that 99.9% of people would have, and I did, but I immediately did an autocorrect. You take the hit, because sometimes it's, and then you autocorrect. How do I choose to feel? So, and my mom and I did the same thing. She hasn't had any of this training, but they treated her horribly in the hospital, absolutely horribly. It's a horrible story. She didn't know if he was alive or dead. She got a random phone call. They'd already transported him to another hospital because they said there was nothing that they could do. And they phoned her on her cell phone to say he was taken in by ambulance, which she knew because she'd been in the ambulance with them, and that his dentures were there. And she goes, well, I'm in the waiting room. So someone came and handed her the dentures and left. She didn't know if there was any more to him that was still to come. She didn't know if he was alive or dead. And she didn't know that he and her ride to the hospital had just taken off without them talking to her. And it was awful. And 99% of people would have been outraged and angry and mad. And she had every right to be. That's horrible. But what did she do? She wrote a list, a gratitude list in a sense, of all the things that she appreciated. She was so grateful that he wasn't in pain. She was so happy that he had had a good life, that we have an amazing family. And she went on and on, because she, by this time now, 2 grandkids, my nephews were there. And she thought she had to be strong for them, and what a great grandfather he had been. And so she wrote all of that out. And when other people would have gotten angry and complained and gotten mad and really dived themselves down into a horrible situation, and justified, that's irrelevant, she changed conditions. I took the hit and I focused on the now, in the present, on laundry. I was doing laundry. And then I immediately meditated, and I got into that same appreciative mode of things that were going right. So important. Thinking of things that I could do. Knowing to my core of my being that the body's a miracle that can heal itself if we give it half a chance. I know that. I've proven that over and over and over again. 99% of people Do not give it half a chance. 99% of people will watch negative news and they get seduced by it. They get caught up in it. They can't look away from the train wreck, and they get right in there with the mud. They get exactly what they don't want. But instead, got that filter. What do I want? That tight bubble. So it became, it's not the easy choice. It's not easy to look at something horrible and think happy thoughts, but that is the work. And when you do that, as many of you know the story, 35 days later, he walked out of there on his own 2 feet back home with my mom. Now, there was lots of things that I did, but it started there with that attitude. Had I not had that, then things would be very different. So don't underestimate your attitude. And if it's not there yet, that's totally okay. That is the work. That is your life work, is to just prove to yourself how much that makes a difference. How much thinking positive if you want it. And it's not just putting on a happy face and saying everything's all fine when you're scared or when things are going really bad, or that you approve or like something. That's irrelevant. You don't have to like something that you don't like. You like what you like. You be good for you. You like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. That's totally cool. That's totally normal. But focus on what's working, not what's not working. Focus on what you like, not what you don't like. And that is the key that will change everything. So when it comes to your course, focus on what's working. Focus on that idea that you have. Focus on how much you love whatever part of this that you love, creating or brainstorming or the freedom. And don't focus on what's not working. And don't label yourself, I'm always a procrastinator, I never get this done. Do your best to not knock yourself down. Do your best to focus on what's working, not what's not working. Do your best to focus on that you can spend time with your kids, and that you are, and that is what you're choosing. You be good for you, but carve out a little time. There always is a little time, and if you need to steal it away from TV, if that become, or even for a short period of time, or from the Facebook or something else, if you need to steal it away from other areas, or maybe early morning, then do that. Try it and see how that works for you. And it is, as I say, it was one of the most enjoyable journeys ever. And I really want you to be able to experience the fun of it, the fun of creating something on your own, and that you did, that you can be really proud of, your baby that you've created. And it's really fun. It really is fun. And then your success is inevitable, because then you're not really working, and then you're in that positive zone. So that's enough for today. But next week, what I'll do is I'm going to post, I believe, I'm going to try and do a Zoom link for you, because I really like to see you on here. And if there's nobody else on, that's okay. I will just spew some informational or inspirational tidbits. But if you have specific questions about anything, as they come up, if I think that a lot of people are encountering the same thing, I will do a Facebook Live. But by all means, let's connect here once a week. And I'm open to feedback. If evenings are better, you let me know. We can make that happen. All right. So with that, have a fantastic week. Enjoy those courses, enjoy creating them. That's the work, and the reward is on the other side. And it's so sweet, and it's so worth it. All right. See you at the top. Be good for you.